Hello, Daniel Stafford here of the Stafford Voice. I just want to share a couple of thoughts. After watching the Korean summit last night, it's a monumental thing that we all got to witness. When the president of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, crosses over into South Korean territory with Moon Jae-in. Fascinating, absolutely historical. I can't stress that enough. After spending, I served in the Army, and I was stationed over on the South Korean peninsula for 13 months. And the Korean people have been hoping and wishing for this moment for years. 65 years ago, they've been at war, technically, for 65 years. So it's taken us 65 years to get to this point. I don't want to minimize that at any cost. So kudos. But over the last few hours, I've given quite a bit of thought to this. And I can't help but wonder if there's more to this story. Look, I think this is an incredible and monumental step towards peace on the peninsula, on the Korean peninsula. And I want nothing more than for this to finally be put behind us. I'm hopeful that this is the end this is the first steps to a formal end to the Korean War. These people have been wanting to be able to cross that zone for the last 65 years. They want to see family. You've got families that have been divided, and they haven't been able to see or talk to each other. So I'm hopeful for those kind of things. But I saw something come across Twitter, and it was from Jonah Goldberg. He tweeted out, "Simplified version of my concern. 1. North Korea and South Korea declare peace and quote-unquote denuclearization," because that's one of the things they're talking about. Number 2, bring troops home movement starts in the U.S. and send them back in South Korea. Basically, that's saying that, the leadership or those in Washington start this idea that we need to bring our troops home and we don't need a presence there anymore because we've finally declared an end to the war, and we need to bring our troops home. And that the younger crowd in South Korea has this movement, this send them back movement, where they want to send back all the Americans. They don't need a presence now. There's peace. Well, number 3 is POTUS, whether the President of the United States, whether it's Trump or whoever the next one is, actually pulls the troops and declares victory. Well, number 4 is where North Korea invades South Korea again, which ultimately brings us to number 5, where North Korea says, "We'll use nukes if you meddle." That's a troubling idea. However, it is one idea, and it's something that could be a very real possibility, especially when you consider that it's being reported that the North Korean television stations didn't broadcast anything covering the summit. They actually played a broadcast of a documentary-type film about Kim Jong-il. Interesting when you add those things into this entire story. However, when North Koreans, Kim Jong-un, actually wrote into the guest book at the Peace House, which is an incredible thing to look at, because what he said gives me a lot more hope than hoping that the idea that North invades the South again, is when he wrote down in the guest book, "A new history begins now." It's this entire story is fascinating. I've had a spot in my heart for the people of North and South Korea for such a long time, and I hope that this brings a formal end to the Korean War. I really do. 65 years in the making. When Kim Jong-un was first brought on, or first announced to be the president of North Korea, I was really hopeful. I thought to myself, and I even told a bunch of friends of mine, that if there was going to be changes on the peninsula, Kim is the only one that's going to be able to do this. Kim Jong-un is the only one. If he really wants change for his people, he has to do this. Now, fast forward up until this moment where yesterday the North Korea, or this Korean summit, happened, and we're seeing a slight bit of unification where the North and South came together. They crossed into both territories, where the South Korean president goes onto the North Korean side, and then formally invites the president of North Korea over onto the South Korean side, and they sit down and they talk. And after everything, this is where we're at. I'm just fascinated by this entire story. I'm keeping my eyes on this one. Like I've said, I've had a soft spot in my heart for this Korean peninsula for such a long time. I'm very hopeful that this is what they're saying, that it's going to be an end to the Korean War. That's what some outlets are reporting, is that this is going to bring about the formal end to the Korean War. I'm hopeful. There's talk about denuclearizing and the peninsula, and it's hopeful. But again, you can't help but open your eyes and not get caught. The last thing you want to do is get caught focusing only on one side of this entire story and looking at just the good. What are the other outcomes that could take place, whether it's 3 months from now or 3 to 10 years from now. We have to look at this entire story and keep our eyes open. So, those are just a few of my thoughts. I wanted to share those with you, and I know it's been a while since we've talked in a setting like this, but I couldn't keep myself from sharing. I had to. I'm so fascinated. It's history in the making, people. Go out, look at some of these stories, come up with what you think are the important things, and if there's something that stands out to you and you want to share it with us, feel free to. You can share it with us on Facebook or Twitter. On Twitter, we're at Stafford Voice. On Facebook, all you got to do is just look for the Stafford Voice, and, well, there we are. Again, thanks for listening to this little rant, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you about this entire thing. Thank you so much. Again, if you've got any thoughts that you'd like to share, please feel free to. Thank you so much, and until the next time, God bless.